Hi, hello everyone. As always, let me know if you can hear me. The angle and things are going to be a bit different. There's been some change ups over the holiday setup wise. I mentioned in chat that Alvin was already here. He is indeed here. He has lots of thoughts and feelings about the year 2024. He was actually asleep before we started, and now he's not. 2024. I hope everybody is having a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas to all those who are celebrating. Happy Boxing Day. Just all kinds of good vibes. I hope you're having a good day, whatever or night, whatever is happening with you. Are you looking forward to 2025? I hope 2024 has treated you well. It's certainly been a wild ride on the comic front, on the adaptation front. The year has not, the year ending on tons of news about the Harley Quinn Fartacular was not what I was predicting for the end of 2024, but it has been fascinating to witness. Not since Pregnant Joker has a joke gone so awry so quickly. Oh, I put it in the thumb. I was like, you know what? All people reacting to it and stuff. Why not? Let's go for it. Ride the train. And I do actually want to talk about a teensy bit. Although I'm waiting for it to actually come out to see what's inside, or at least an interview or something for a bit more meat. Because right now it's just the initial, but why though reaction. So what I find more fascinating is the seeming tone deafness and how it's been marketed. That's what's interesting to me. Let me see what all of you are saying. Connor is saying, I just got home from Nosferatu. It's good, isn't it? Oh, good time. Spidey Pool DJ is saying the number 2025 doesn't feel real. It feels like it went by really, really quickly. I had to go back. I was going back through all of my videos to be like, what was I even talking about in January? And that was a bit of a blast from the past because I was like, wow, that happened this year. I can't believe it. Some of it feels like it happened last year, but we'll get to a bunch of it. I saved a bunch of images from a couple of comics that I enjoyed and the like because I was thinking of, doing best, worst, but I couldn't get past the fact that I haven't read everything, so that just felt disingenuous. So let's talk about some of the ones that I thought were good, interesting, those kind of things. They'll be fun, and then you can give me some of the ones that you've read that I may have missed, or other people may have missed, because there's so much out there. There was so much to read. Ben Chan is saying this century is a quarter of the way done. We're getting there. Hi. Hello. So quickly, because I have images. Yeah, Marilyn Duke. I know AO3 is down. All right. Chill, Alvin, chill. Let's talk about this briefly. And this wonderful image that has been making its rounds around the internet, rounding off 2024 with as being seemingly, there are a couple of days left, so something new could happen, but seemingly being the end point for DC of this year, the Harley Quinn Fartacular. Silent but with two T's, deadly. What fascinates me about this is that this is the kind of joke that feels like it would land fairly well for people who were younger. And that's not to say, because like you can do a good fart joke, but just like a whole thing based around it seems geared more in that direction. But the solicit, meaning those who would see it and those who would interact with it, are older, and so they're not going to receive it the way that it is potentially intended. Because I don't think it's meant to be a fart fetish book. The infamous Mike Manhattan is saying people are talking about it, so it's done its job. That is the all publicity is good publicity argument, which is something that I don't necessarily agree with, because this has definitely hit the normie space. Like I saw a bunch of people react to it, like Asmund, Charlie, all kinds of people like that. But that doesn't translate into people actually going into the store and buying it, which is what you need. Instead, what it just translates to is a bunch of people thinking comics are weird. It doesn't mean that people are going to go seek it out. Some might, But if they do, you're going to get people who are curious, and then you might get actually the fetish people who think this is a fetish comic. So, and I don't think that it's meant to be, but, but we'll see. I want to see the whole thing because I want to examine this as like a cultural non-controversy. I'm fascinated by non-controversies. And I'm looking forward to when it comes out because, there is the potential for an actually very clever April Fool's joke in here. I don't know if they'll take it, which would be potentially. What if it's actually super highbrow pinkies out? I think that would like there are some people are saying the joke is that it won't come out, but I mean there are panels from it, so I think that I don't think this is going to be a snowflake safe space thing where they don't put it out, even though it exists. But what if it was like super highbrow and intellectual, and that was the joke? The joke is that, haha, you all thought that it was going to be this, but actually, you know, actually, it's the deep contemplation on the existential dread of life. I don't know. But I mean, when it does officially fully come out, I'm curious how many people go check it out, how many people end up coming back around to it. I will be one of the people who comes back around to talk about it because I'm also, saving some of the stuff from this time, the reaction, just so we can come back and relive when it's March, the end of March. See, a lot of people are saying that's just straight up, fetish and stuff like that. And I don't I know that the author's barely disguised fetish is a thing, but like usually it's not so like overt. It's like when they put the secret like ring on Lana and stuff like that, of like you see the secret ring with like LL on it to show that like she's with Lex and stuff. I you know, I am looking forward to being able to discuss it, which is very different than wanting to read it. Those are two very different things. When you create content, your relationship with some of the things is different than it would be otherwise. Oh, Ben Chan is saying Marvel's going to counter with a Deadpool bonerific special. Oh, that already sounds slightly funnier though, because then you could at least play on the old usage of the word, even though Deadpool wasn't around in like the era when you would use boner to mean mistake. But that would be interesting. Love Shalisa saying, "Let it go, bro. It's over." Nah, it's not over till it comes out. Then it's over. Then it's over. But going back to that was good, Marilyn Duke. I like it. Are we being gaslit with this comic? You need to add that to the solicit, which was full of puns like that. So going back to the end of the year and looking around, and I also saw someone ask me what my favorite video was that I made this year. I think it's always one that like not a lot of people have watched, but that's not how I measure the success of a video. I think my favorite video that I made this year after I was going through a bunch of them might be why Ultimate X-Men feels so different. I was just really happy with the structure of that video and the way that it turned out. Just the formatting, the way everything came together. Yeah, I'm really happy with that video in terms of just the way everything went down. So I think it might be that one. Although if you ask me, on a different day, I might give a slightly different answer, but it's up there for sure. When I went back there, I was reminded that near the beginning of the year was X-Men 97 and all of the fun X-Men 97 coverage and rereading a bunch of X-Men comics because of that. That was a good time. That was a nice solid start and fun to remember. Exploding Pretty, thank you very much. Has Joker ever used rear end laughing gas? I'm sure it's happened. I mean, the Joker is not opposed to a fart joke, but a whole book about it. Now that's a bit much. I mean, even when I was doing the video on the skeleton, there was a fart joke in that one. So it's not that they can't be done. It's just the idea of an entire thing, or even that one Teen Titans Go episode that tried to center around it had to vary it up a little bit. And when even Teen Titans Go knows that needs to vary it up, that's why I want to wait and see how it's actually presented. Balls Monkey, thank you very much. Which movie has you more hyped, Superman or Fantastic Four? Probably Superman. Probably Superman. With Fantastic Four, it's more the sense of maybe this time. But of course, I'll be there for both. Therese 504, thank you very much. Girl, I will not be watching any video about farts. Fair enough. I understand. Oh, I completely understand. But I'll be talking about it. So there was a bunch of adaptations, because there was also Suicide Squad Isekai, which I did not finish making videos on. It's funny because one of the questions that people had from the beginning about the bomb on Clayface, they answered it in the later episodes when he explodes. And then he's just like, I could move the bomb to my brain to any other part of my body, so it never even mattered. And I'm like, you feel like Waller should know that. But that was another one that we covered as it was coming out for a while. And that was also a good there was a lot of trying to keep up with things as they were happening this year. So we'll see. Next year, probably not. That was a lot, especially as it got towards the end of the year and all of the initiatives started to happen, particularly at DC with Absolute and things like that. So we shall see. I know March is going to end me when the next crop of Absolute books come out. But it'll be worth it. It'll be fun. Ben Chan is saying, you already made a video about a girl who poops ice cream. Yes, you see, it's in the wheelhouse. It's the content that people expect from this channel. Maybe, probably not. But moments like this, they fascinate me. Like I did a video on Squirrel Girl recently, and it reactivated something that I've wanted to do for a while, which was take a look back at the controversy/controversy surrounding the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. I think that would be a good time. Like, we're several years out from it now, so I feel like we could have a proper, decent, nuanced conversation about it, and that's always cool. It's always fun for me. I was like, cool. And then I was in my head, I was like, that sounds really nerdy. So I don't know if cool is the word that I would use. But yeah, that would be a good time, because I definitely have been inspired to do a lot of Marvel videos because of all the Marvel Rivals stuff that's been going on, even though I'm not very good. But it's fine, because no one will ever see how truly bad I am unless I actually play with Amanda. So we'll see. Tourette's 504, thank you very much. The best and worst part about X-Men 97 on stream was the pace. The DeMeo scandal afterwards was absolutely delicious, and I am unanimous in that. The pacing it did rush through a bunch of things. I have to say, on subsequent watchings, it didn't feel quite so much so, but that's because you are already aware of the pace it's going to be at. There were definitely certain things that were speed run, Goblin Queen speed run. And so because of that, some of the emotions of certain plots didn't hit exactly as they could have. But overall, I still really, really enjoyed it. Ben Chan say, Squirrel Girl is just fun to say. It is. It really is. Oh, where are my notes? I have notes. Harley Quinn Fartacular was not on the notes. It's because, oh, it's bright. That's really bright. I'll just glance at them for a moment and then put them down, because that was a lot. So another thing at the beginning of the year was the Ultimate Universe, the Ultimate Marvel Universe relaunch, and all of the excitement and hype surrounding that, particularly for Spider-Man. I have slides. It's like a presentation. All right, I labeled them. It'll have to load. It's processing. There we go. Ultimate Spider-Man. So how many people are still on the Ultimate Spider-Man train? This is I was trying to say two things at once, and so an accent came out. This is something that is definitely coming in the pipeline, which is a post-mortem of Ultimate Spider-Man 1 year in. So I'm looking forward to handling that. But who is keeping up with the Ultimate Universe? Who still feels excited about it and enjoying it? One of the consistent complaints I've seen now that we're this far in is the pacing for some people, and that's across the various books, but you'll hear it mostly targeted towards Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men. So I am very curious where your thoughts land on that. I'm really still enjoying particularly those two. Those are the two that are up top for me. I really like how Spider-Man is trying to do the like month in a life thing, and the emotional buildup between all the characters for me has been really exciting. I find it exciting. I find it just as interesting as him fighting people and the like. So I'm looking forward to the next year where it seems like things are going to ramp up a bit more on the action front, but now there's all this emotional, backing behind it. Could it have been less decompressed? I definitely think so, because you see that in past eras that you can accomplish both simultaneously. But for what's going on here, I really like the character work a lot. But again, I can also understand people's perspectives of please hit something, at some point, please. Adrian Parchment, any thoughts on the Caped Crusaders Harley Quinn? I was going to mention Caped Crusader a bit later because that came a bit later in the year, more towards mid end ish. But yes, I thought that rendition was interesting, although it was veering a bit towards making her just an independent character, which is fine, even though I did like some of the ties that they were making there. I would like to see that version interact with that show's version of the Joker, whatever that may be. I think that could be interesting. But my main thing with Caped Crusader was because of the setting that it was playing in, it avoided certain topics that could have been there for drama or should have been, and I think would have made the show stronger overall. But overall, there were highs and lows for me with Caped Crusader. But I'm looking forward to seeing the next season for sure. What about all of you? That was one of the ones that I finished. So I didn't finish Isekai yet. I saw a bunch of you didn't either. I've really got to. I've really got to. I've like, there's no time. I finished The Penguin, so I'm proud of myself for that. I did find the time to finish The Penguin, which I enjoyed as well. There were a bunch of solid adaptations this year. What's really interesting about the Ultimate universe is that now that it's being, compared so much to the Absolute universe, because they're both at different places. So I'm very curious where the Absolute line is going to be 1 year in, because then I think it'll be a fair comparison of like how much have they each done at that point, because right now they're at very different points of not of entry, but just of content and what they've been doing. But this was definitely one of the exciting Marvel moments of the year. I think arguably maybe the most exciting. I don't know, unless people were really hyped for Blood Rain or those kind of I mean, or people complaining about Paul and all of those things. It depends what corner of the online space you're operating in. I need to remember which side the lipstick's on. There we go. So I did make a little list of some of the things that I liked, which obviously one of the biggest things that's dominating people's minds because it happened so close to the end is the Absolute universe and then the DC All In stuff. And that's definitely something that's been incredibly fascinating to me. Anybody who's been watching this channel knows that. And I think the quality of the books overall has been very solid. And for the most part, people have been paired with projects that really seem to suit them quite well. I think this is the 4th printing cover. Yeah, the axe, it's off again. It's a menace. This is Absolute Batman is the one that I'm enjoying the most so far, but we'll see how that goes because, things can change and shift as you're going through, as different arcs finish or start, all of those kind of things. But this one for me has been the most fun. I guess the best way to phrase it off the cuff without having to go and get the source and all that is that it feels the most comic booky. It's embracing the medium a lot. And that's not to say that the others aren't doing some interesting things. There's a lot of European art flair in Absolute Wonder Woman, for example, like Mobius and stuff like that, with some of the way the art is handled. But this one, just the way everything works, has worked the most for me. But they're all quite clearly thought out. There isn't one where it feels like something is happening just for no reason. So then it just comes down to whether you feel that it's being well executed or not. I have the second printing cover. I was like, let's get the other covers. Everybody's seen the various. I didn't get Superman because it didn't feel fair because I'm behind. I'm sorry, Superman. Let me see what all of you are talking about. Esteban Laura saying the axe looks smaller than his body. Of course, he never skips leg day. Let's see. B&B is saying 9 new X books in a 2-week span. That was fun. It's been a lot. If you're loving the books, then it's great. If you're trying to keep up with everything, it's like, oh wow, books. Terrest 504, thank you very much. I love the Penguin as a series, but not gonna lie, I was kind of less than thrilled with Sophia being so sexed up instead of her more burly, dare I say, manly character design from the comics. What say you? That feels like it's a call to all of us, like in the town square. What say you? I did. One person who know that changed right away was my husband. He was like, "That's not Sophia." He was like, "That's not how Sophia is supposed to look." I really enjoyed how Christina Milioti, the actress, portrayed the character. I really felt that she brought the energy to it, and the way that they were playing with her appearance when she was placing herself out there more sexually versus being more demure really tied into where she was emotionally at different points in the series. So I didn't mind it so much. It definitely changed some of the angle of where some of the angst and trauma she was experiencing came from, but I didn't think it was necessarily a bad change off the bat. But what say you? If that's just fun to say. Hear ye, hear ye. Yeah, a bunch of people are saying they really liked how the actress did. She's really good. I've liked her in pretty much all the things I've seen her in. I was like, oh, 30 Rock flashbacks. You're still here, Alvin. You're very happy. You're very happy. Some of the things that I've been really there's always the newness bias when you're thinking about what was the most interesting of the year. And that's why I was actually seriously considering that for next year, starting to take notes from January. Because otherwise, some of the stuff can kind of, fall by the wayside. Because a lot of the things I have been thinking about are things that came out pretty recently. There you go. Oh, someone's saying, I just don't care about Sophia showing up in the movies going forward outside of Penguin season 2. Yes, Sophia was also in the Gotham TV series on Fox, and they did no, they didn't do the same thing character-wise, but they definitely did the same thing appearance-wise. None of them have adapted the look from the comics. Everybody's saying Alvin's quiet. He's more I think it's because he was actually asleep before this, and also because he didn't have to beg to come in. So there's not that, I deserve to be here kind of energy that he sometimes has during these. I was going on about the newness, bias, because one of the things that's on here for me is the New Gods, which I finally got the chance to read, and I absolutely loved it so much. I thought this was such a fun take. It really played into Ramvia's wheelhouse of liking that kind of mythological layered fare. There I actually have a couple of other things from him on here. And it was just really nice to see so much of the Fourth God's lore actually referenced and stuff, like Orion's true face. And it's like Orion's real face. I loved that scene so much. It's always kind of a jump scare when you see what Orion really looks like. And I loved how it was drawn. It just felt it felt epic. And I feel like you need that for the New Gods. It was a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see where it's going. I'm glad because I was one of those people who was like, new gods. Stephen Turner, thank you very much. Need Sophia to meet Selena on screen. So you're looking forward to potentially seeing like a team up maybe on the big screen. Adrian Parchment, thank you very much. Any favorite CW DC show? Mine is The Flash plus Stargirl. Stargirl. I love Stargirl. For people who have been here for a while, you'll know about like the deep love I have of Stargirl and like that phase where for a while, whenever I could, I would put in a Stargirl clip. Usually of the shade. It's like, is it time to put a clip from the shade into the show? We can do it anytime, even if it doesn't entirely fit. Oh, let's see what all of you are saying. Yeah, a bunch of you are saying that. Oh, Harley X Joker Forever is saying, is the new gods accessible to anyone who's not up on the lore? I'd say so. I would say so. There'll be a bit of like, having to like pick up and like put together in your mind of like, oh, this is happening because this, but it won't be confusing. It's just some of the relationships between the characters won't have the same punch if you're less familiar with the lore. Like when Orion goes to visit Scott Free, who's named his daughter Live Free, which is amazing. And that history that they share and the depth of it and the complexity of that relationship. Like even though the scene is very well written, even without that, just knowing what they've been through, where they come from, and the child exchange and their histories and the relationship with New Genesis, the New Gods is it's compelling stuff. It's the kind of thing where I can see this actually making people seek out some of the old stuff because I saw people asking on Reddit when I was when I was on Reddit, which is always a mistake, but I was on Reddit and they were like, "Ooh, is this actually like a lore accurate thing?" And then people were pulling out the issue number. They're like, "Yeah, this face reveal was from this issue," and I love stuff like that. That's always really exciting, and to me, it says that a work is hitting. It's doing what it's supposed to. It's getting people excited about the lore, the deep lore. So some people are shouting out their favorite CW shows. I did see the ending of Superman and Lois, not on purpose. It was just clips all over my YouTube feed. And I was like, yeah, I'll watch the end even though I'm not caught up. So I saw the heartstring tug ending and I was like, oh, this seems like a nice ending for the show, even though I'm not caught up. Oh. Someone's shouting out Supergirl. JRR24 is asking, would you like to see Baby Doll in a live action movie or show? I don't see why not. It all depends how it's done, like with anything. Prince Parker say was so melodramatic. It was. It was pure melodrama. Like it was almost bordering on cheesy, but I don't mind some cheese every now and again, personally. Speaking of Romby, this finished in 2024, so I feel like I can add it. Alvin wants to leave. Hold on. He's done with us. He's done with us mere mortals. He has other things to do tonight. He said his opinion. We're not talking about Nightwing. He doesn't need to be here, basically. So this was Rare Flavors, Romby and Felipe Andrade. And this one was about an ancient god wandering the earth after he convinces this man to make a documentary about him. And the documentary is about food and the different history behind like the location and the person making it. The only thing is that this is actually a god who consumes the people who make the food, and that's one of the things. So it's definitely a pinkies out type of work. There's lots of contemplation about the meaning of legacy and the place of mythology and gods and belief in life, the importance of your culture and your heritage, all of those kind of things. But I found it really, really compelling and very genuine. It's one of those things where it's bordering pretentious. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. Pretension tends to be bad when it veers towards condescension. And this wasn't condescending. This was more musing. It was contemplating a lot of these things and through the lens of a mythology that isn't as explored over here in North American or even Western media. So that was really fun for me. And I really liked the art in it and had real recipe. I'm always a sucker for when there's actual recipes in, a thing. It's like food wars, let's go, actual recipes. And not saying Ron V loves a pinkies out. So 100% pinkies out all the time. Only way to drink from a cup, pinkies out. There's nothing wrong with that. But this one was interesting. I thought that I like works where they warrant more than one read. The kind of thing where as you're reading it, you can see reading it again and getting something different out of it, or having to reread sections, not because they don't make sense, but because you want to ponder how you feel about it or what it's saying in the context of what came before. And I think that leads to a layered experience. So I liked this one. There was another Pinky's Out one that's on here too. I'll just put them all in a row because why not? We're here. So, ha, Anon. Would you say you need to reread it in order to digest it? Boodum. Well played. Appreciate it. All right. This one was the One Hand and the Six Fingers. This is the two of them together. This is the graphic novel cover, like where both series are collected together, because this was a collaborative work between, I can't read the font on here, so I have it over here, between Ram V, Lawrence Campbell on the one book, The One Hand, and then you had Dan Waters and Sumit Kumar, The Six Fingers, the other book. And so what this was an interconnected mystery story, with the one part being told from the detective side, who's trying to catch the one hand killer who he's caught before twice and now has reemerged again, but this time the handprint has a sixth finger, which has very different connotations depending upon where you are from in the world. And so you have to look at it more from the spiritualistic standpoint that Ram V would be coming from than like a witch's standpoint, which you may jump to depending upon, again, what your vantage point is. And then the other one is from it's not a spoiler, it happens in the first issue. So from the murderer's perspective, who has committed this murder and doesn't remember doing it or why he's done it. And so the two works came out, first the One Hand, 1 week, and then the Six Fingers, like I think 2 or 1 week after. And then you were supposed to read them in a kind of interchangeable fashion. And this was also very, like, they did this joint interview where they were like, there were 2 mysteries, but we really wanted to create a third mystery that interacted with the other 2 in the center. And I was like, oh boy, let me raise my brow. But it was fun to read. One of the things you'll see if you dive into looking this up is people will compare it a lot to Blade Runner, and I can see why. There are some elements of it there, but there's a lot of Dark City elements in it too, and kind of some roadside picnic circa Tales from the Loop. So there was one element of it that for me really set it apart from those other things. I don't want to say what it was because it would be a spoiler for what was going on in the book. But I thought this was interesting, and definitely reading it in that fashion of jumping between the 2 works was fun. And because you had the 2 different authors and 2 different art styles, it really did they still felt connected, but they felt distinct. And that ended up also being very important for what was happening inside the mystery. But I didn't hear as many people talking about this one, and I discovered it closer to the end of the year. And so I thought I would put it out there. If that sounds like it's the kind of thing that would be maybe up your alley. I don't know what you're into, but I thought it was interesting. And that's what this is about. Interesting things that happened throughout the year. I know for some other people, it'll be things like the Energon universe and Transformers and G.I. Joe. I know personally, I didn't read a bunch of those things. So let me see what all of you are saying. We have indie talk. Elithid Lore is saying it was such a shame how Local Man ended so suddenly. I can say that I'm actually currently editing an interview with Tony Fleece. I'll have it out in the new year. And he did mention that in the future, they hope to do more Local Man, just not right now. There's another project that they're probably going to do first, and then hopefully get back to Local Man. I actually have Local Man beside me. Oh, it was one of the things I wanted to spotlight from 2024 because I agree. I think Local Man was really good. I love the way it built upon a bunch of the classic 90s tropes and styles of heroes, and really it both critiqued and embraced them. It wasn't just making fun of that era like so many things can tend to, and I really appreciated that. There was a Bad Girls special issue which I absolutely I loved it so much I can't speak because of how much it embraced the Bad Girls of that era, and that was a lot of fun. So I think that Local Man is also something where the only thing, and it has nothing to do with the book itself. It's the fact that this has a matte cover and the one back there is a glossy cover. And I'm just trying to live my life. Why? But this was also really solid about disgraced formal hero having to go back to his town, not being able to use his name. Hence, he starts going by Local Man, or rather, the news starts calling him Local Man, even though they all know it's still him. And he starts to investigate this bigger mystery that ties back to his time on this team. My favorite thing about this was how, as you started to learn more about the relationships, how it played with the expectations, rather societal expectations of what these scandals would be versus what they actually were. And I think that led to some of the most interesting relationships inside of the book. Ben Chan says, were they bad or just drawn that way? Some of them were bad. Some of them were just drawn that way. Always appreciate a Who Framed Roger Rabbit reference. I have a bunch of other things over here just because I was rereading them, because that's the thing with doing a whole year-end review, is that lots of times the things that they're not all from that year. I'm not the only person who does that, right? I think this year I read the most new comics that out of all the years I think I've been doing the channel, because lots of the time I'm casting back to the past, unless you count new books as collected omnis and trades, in which case then I'm reading a lot of stuff. But I was rereading Black Science, my giant tome. There's a card in here. I never have bookmarks. I'm never prepared. So there's always just some random object I've picked up. I'm pretty far into my reread of this, actually. It's still a really good time. Every time. I love Black Science. I talked about this years ago when I used to do the You've Been Sleeping On Indie Rex, when that slang was still like, it was so hot then and it made sense. So I should get to the one that I was holding in the thumb. I wasn't just holding it for no reason. It is Somna. I have Somna here by Becky Cloonan and Tula Lotai. I don't know. One of the two. Alvin's back. No, see, he's back for the smut. This was black bagged when I got it. This is from Distillery, so you get to see some of the binding on their actual hard released editions. And this is the year that I really started looking into some of what Distillery had going on. And Distillery has been very interesting. It has, in my opinion, a quite confusing digital marketplace. But I think that a lot of the work being produced is quite fascinating, and it veers towards being more adult. That's one of the things about Distillery. And by adult, I mean that there's nudes and that kind of thing. It varies work per work. They're not all like that, but a decent amount of them have that energy, and it depends how they employ it. This one was very much playing into it because it was about the era of witch burnings and the like, and a woman who is embroiled in an actual affair with Satan. It's got vibes of it's got some Penny Dreadful vibes a little bit, but what I liked about it was the way the art was employed in the story, because the different dreamscapes or like landscapes she was in had different types of art styles. And so as it got more and more warped as to what was really going on. Sometimes they would blur. And what was really fascinating is that led to some online discussions as to whether or not certain things were art errors or not, or whether they were intentional. And so those are very interesting conversations to be a part of. I think this one was this nominated. Did it? Oh, it was. Yeah, it was nominated for an Eisner. That's neither here nor there to me, but I know for some people it is. So I'll put it out there. I want to open it, but I need to be careful. I need to be careful. I gotta pick a page where it's not gonna end me. This page will be fine. So you can see the two different art styles there. As you can see, the interplay between the two. No, Dragonberry means show the dirty pictures. No, shame. I already got demonetized last time for showing Superman in the Yamcha pose. We can't do it again. Did they win? Ah, they need to update the back of this then. Then they gotta update the back. Oh. Matthew Powers is coward. Oh. Anyway, I think a lot of the work they have going on there is interesting, and they have a lot of pretty big name creators who are putting out some interesting work there, and it feels like it's flying a bit under the radar. And that might be some of the accessibility thing, because like I personally find the digital marketplace a bit difficult. Maybe I'm just smooth brained and it's super intuitive, but for me, I'm dealing in, the physical fare for this. This is something that I do actually want to do an analysis of, because I think it's interesting the way it's trying to play in such a well-worn topic. There's been a lot of works that have tackled this kind of subject matter, and I think it would be really interesting to place this in the line of them, because there are a couple of things that's doing differently because of it being a comic medium, and I think that that's fascinating. And that's why I wanted to hold it up in the thumbnail. Also, because I like to be holding things in the thumb. Otherwise, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm like, oh, I need to put my hands somewhere. They need to be. You don't need to pay to see the good stuff. Look, it just needs to be okay. I really liked how it looked. That was the first thing that drew me to. I can't show that. Can I show that? I can show that. That should be my title for the video. Can I show this? Like giant censor bar thumbnail something? Clickbait. Yeah, it's a really beautiful book, and I am really impressed with the binding. I like how it's bound and everything. It's solid. It's a bit bigger too. You can see. I also have Blasphemous that's downstairs by Mirka Andolfo. So I have more slides, but I got to change them out. You can only hold 10 at a time in here. So I've got to move some stuff around. Like a PowerPoint presentation. So what are some of the things? Tell me some of your favorites while I rotate my PDFs out. What's something that you really enjoyed that you feel that not enough people were talking about this year? Something you wish had gotten a bit more play than it did? I'm going to pull some of those up for me. Yeah, they're loading. I think they're higher quality when it takes them a while to load. At least that's what I like to think. I'm still haunted by that one stream where the one came up and it was just a potato. Never recover from that. I've got a few more up now, and then just a little more. Ta-da. All right. This should not be a surprise to anybody. Green Lantern. The funny thing is that I haven't, I think, talked about the run itself, but I've done a couple of videos about the Sorrow Lantern, who is thankfully turning out to be a bigger deal. But this run, even though it started before 2024, but it's really started to do a lot this year and started to branch out into multiple books. So I feel like it can still get a mention this year. This has been doing a lot of fun things with the lore and the emotion spectrum and like new secrets of the rings and setting up all the various lanterns to have their own moments, positioning Star Sapphire to be on the league. And it's been a very fun Hal. He's a slight mess, which is, as all things should be, but it's just a very enjoyable book and it really embraces the Green Lantern lore. This is one of those things where it's just solid. It's like, yeah, this is just it's a good book. So it's definitely one that I've been keeping up with. Seeing what some of you are saying. I just started Ain't No Grave CBM. I need to get more into that. That was one I just heard about, and I was like, why did nobody tell me about Ain't No Grave? And then it turned out, thankfully, my phone is somewhere. It turned out that it was on Global Comics. That's where I've been checking out a lot of the indie things because a bunch of the newer things or more recent, they pop up, and sometimes they'll just automatically be like, hey, they'll poke you, like you should look at this. And as much as I jokingly say on the show, I'm looking around for my phone. That's why my eyes are darting every which way. But as much as I jokingly say that, like, oh, I hate that it knows me so well, that's not true. I do appreciate that it recommends things to me that I end up enjoying. That's always a good thing. That's not a bad thing at all. It recommended a book to me that was not from 2024, which is the only reason it's not here, which was Upgrade Soul by Ezra Clayton Daniels. And it was a fascinating sci-fi story that it played in the realm of the body swaps and the whole like you can be a better you, like we're going to transfer your consciousness, be it to a robot, a clone, that kind of thing. They've been playing with that for a long time. But one of the ways that it made it very unique was firstly it was a body horror thing and it was quite disturbing, and it had one of the most upsetting moments I've ever read. It reminded me of I have no mouth and I must scream. It was just horrifying. So 10 out of 10 would recommend. It hurt me. If you want to be hurt, then then that's for you. Just call my phone. I don't really need it, though. That's the thing. I just want it. It's one of those things where, like, once you know that you don't have it with you, it's kind of like, oh, now I wish it was here. I know what happened to it. Alvin happened to it. Alvin happens to all things. Terres 504, thank you very much. You made me love Punchline. Should she get an absolute version? If you got to write it, what would that comic be like? I'm so glad that you're enjoying Punchline. I think an absolute Punchline could be interesting. I mean, if I ever dared to dream of writing it, I should keep that idea to myself. But suffice it to say, I have one. No, Alvin didn't steal my phone. He knocked it over. He knocked it over. That's what happened to it. Now I remember. So we've come to the ghost machine portion for me. That's a nice play on their whole without a Batcave, without an Alfred, also Punchline without the Joker. So I've been keeping up with pretty much all the Ghost Machine outings, but there were a couple that I just absolutely, they were above for me. And Rook Exodus was one of them. That was just a really fun book. And I know that's not going to come out as frequently. Like there's going to be like a hiatus and stuff. But I mean, the quality of the art, I can understand why it takes a bit longer. And I just really enjoyed this concept, and it was a really good. It wasn't my entry point, but I think it was a fun launch of them playing with all of the different things that they've started to do, all the different genres and types. And it's for me, it's been fun to watch Ghost Machine grow and try all those different things because that's part of the enjoyment factor for me. Like there's several levels of enjoyment, like there's a book, there's fandom, there's seeing people try new things, all kinds of different things. My cats knock my phone over too. They always hate when I'm on my phone. See, cats, they need attention. That's what it is. Ben Chan, thank you very much. Sandman Mini was great, and Moon Knight has been great for a while, but not sure anyone noticed. I've heard good things about Moon Knight. It's one of those ones where, like, some of them I feel are just kind of going under the radar. Like Poison Ivy is another one like that, which is only not on here because it started I don't know why I gave myself that caveat of like it needs to have like something big have happened this year. I don't know. That's the this is I got two in my head about making it be an actual list, you know? Common sense. Thank you very much. You think Sodom ought to be a sorrow lantern because everyone has forgotten about him? Do you think that's a sad enough reason? Do you think that's a is that the same level of sorrow as your fiance leaving you at the altar? That was one of the things people were roasting Sorrow Lantern for. They're like, there's so many other things to be sad about. I don't know. Maybe we can just have one, keep it special, like the Avarice Lantern. Oh, I see a bunch of people are saying that Moon Knight's fantastic. The Moon Knight run is currently my favorite Marvel comic. See, that's why it's fun to talk about these things because sometimes people might not know what other people are reading or even what's out there or what people feel like is good. The other one I have for this is Hyde Street. Oh, it's almost potato quality, but not quite. We can live with it. But Hyde Street, I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone and Outer Limits and all those kind of anthology things. So this is just entirely in my wheelhouse. I think it's a lot of fun. I think the art is gorgeous. I'm enjoying all, the twisted tales and that kind of thing. I also liked Devour, the tie-in one. I don't think it was as strong as the main books have been. And I think it was a tad too long, but there was a real genuine energy to the conflict in it and the psychological horror underneath the body horror that I appreciated from that one. But this was, oh yeah, Alfred Hitchcock Presents is also a fun one. Just anthology horror things are right up my alley. And I do like the continuing thread of the Mr. Hyde and Pranky dynamic and how we're learning more and more about them. And I'm curious. I'm like, will Mr. Hyde get off the street? Mr. Hyde. Will Mr. X-ray get off the street? You see, that's what they want. Jekyll and Hyde Street. I don't know if I want Mr. X-ray to get off the street. We'll see. Redcoat's one I've kept up with, but I'm not the hugest fan of like alternate like historical things, but it also has had some really fun moments. And I like the main character a lot, Simon Pure. So, which is just it's also a fun name. Yes, there's all the EC stuff. A bunch of you are just naming a bunch of the anthology. Like that's really an era for the horror anthology. There's Hello Darkness over at Boom is another one, and then you have all of the relaunches of the classic, EC titles and Creep Show and all those kind of things. So it's a really good era if that's a genre that you enjoy to be involved in it. But yeah, so there's a bunch of I'm getting into what do I have over here? I have more things. Yes, Ice Cream Man. Ice Cream Man's been keeping on, keeping on. It's been going for quite some time now. I can Pierre and I is saying High Street gave me Ice Cream Man vibes. Early era Ice Cream Man. Not definitely. I don't think the later era of Ice Cream Man, which has a lot more like inner musings from the author. Not that those weren't there, but they're a lot more prominent. I'm not even talking specifically about the last issue. There have been several before. Some of them were just musings on the process of like writing and death and those kind of things. Those are interesting, but it's definitely a bit different than how it was at the start of it. It makes sense if you write it all in order because it is an evolution, but there has been a shift over time. But I mean, it's been going on for quite some time. Honorable mention to the Rockefellers. I just don't have an image for it. I didn't have time to save all of my things into PDFs because you got to make these PDFs if you want to use the specific extension of StreamYard that I'm using right now. So what else do I have here? Some of you have already mentioned Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, which is Patrick Horvath and Hassan Osmane Elho. And I like this one not as much as other people though. That's one of the this is one of those ones where I think this is really well executed. I think the art is gorgeous. There's some really trippy psychological sequences in the later books contemplating the nature of like humanity, even though they're anthropomorphic, creatures and animals and those kind of things. And that's a lot of fun. But this is also, in my opinion, extremely derivative of Dexter. And I'm not saying that as, like a knock, but it bears those bones and a couple of like other serial killer things quite strongly. And I could never entirely shake it throughout. It's good though. Like it's really good. And if you liked that stuff, I think you'll like this. And even just on its own, if you're not familiar with it, like I think you'll really, really like this. It's good. So that's not to say like don't read it because it's like it's really solid. I could never shake that feeling while I was reading it. But there's definitely a reason why everybody's talking about this one because the construction and the atmosphere is really, really good. And the way that it pairs with the art, it's nicely done. Yeah, Lithador is saying Beneath the Trees was basically Dexter meets Richard Scarry, but it's really well done. It is really well done. That's the thing. It's good. Oh, this one was it had some buzz and then it kind of just fell like to the, just to the minutia of the year. But it was Houses of the Unholy, and this was the Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips one about the girl who survives the ordeal with a cult as a child, and then going into her adult life and what actually happened to her and what that means for her future when people start trying to hunt her down and convince her that some of the things that she thinks didn't happen really did. It's very much playing with the era of the satanic panic and like one's memories like recovered versus repressed memories and those kind of things, and all of that stuff was interesting, and I think it created a very good atmosphere. These two have worked together so much, and they always create something I think very, very solid. And so if you're a fan of them, I think this is definitely one that's worth checking out. And I think the way that it handled that concept of they was basically treating, the repressed memories as akin to some of those earlier fears. And I thought that part was really interesting. I'm not so sure about how it ended personally, but you'll need to like read it to see whether or not you agree with that or not. But again, very, very solid. I think it deserved more than the kind of flare up it got at around the spooky season and then the kind of dip. It was really heavily promoted for a while and then I just didn't see it anymore. I saw it actually on Book Riot, which is where I frequent because that website was the one that what recommended me My Boyfriend is a Bear. And so I always need to hang out there to see if they recommend me something that good again. Because My Boyfriend is a Bear is I think one of my favorite videos that we did on this channel. It was a lot of fun. Like give me another My Boyfriend is a Bear. It was fun to read and fun to talk about. We need more of that. What else do I have here? Ah, I also have I have Standstill by Lee Lowridge and Andrew Robinson. And I am enamored with the double page spread thing that this book is doing. It's oversized. And as much as I like the concept, which is of this incredibly sociopathic person stealing the technology to be able to stop time and just going ham with it and on this journey of revenge and exploring like like what does revenge mean, does the person dig two graves or like that kind of stuff, but it's having way more fun with it than that. But I'm in love with the paneling. I really enjoy the experience of like looking at the way it's laid out. It's just like they said they were trying to accomplish a wide screen effect, and I think that they did. And so I think that I think that that was really cool. So I've been enjoying this. It's one of those ones where I'm like, but I won't be able to do it justice showing it on, proper screen. I even saved, I think. Did I save one of the big wide pages? I'm like, I can pull it up, but it won't illustrate what I'm trying to say. But I'll do it anyway. I'll try. Let me see. I'll give it a go. Yeah, because like, this is, like, the entire paneling. This is after he goes and he's talking to a waitress about, like, "What would you do if you could do anything?" And she's like, "Oh, I would do, like, whatever I want." He's like, "I bet you wouldn't." And he, like, stops time and shows back up with all this, like, money with blood on it and just leaves it there for her to have to deal with because he's not okay. But I like how it looks. What can I say? Trust 504, thank you very much. My boyfriend is a bear. Thanks, I hate it. It was fun. Fond memories. Good times. Oh, Nikki Poole, am I late to the party? I don't know if you're late or not. We'll see. We'll see, what else do I have here? Because I also just have a bunch of stuff that I wrote down. Just some things that I was either going through or wanting to check out, or what else do I have on here? Ah, yes, these are some of the things that are ongoing. So I'm just kind of still going through them. So this is where you have the power fantasy, um, The Moon is Following Us, Profane. What was this other one here? I just looked at it. That's how good my memory is tonight. Tin Can Society, Vicarious. A bunch of these were ones that I put on that poll of like, what should we talk about more? And people were like, I don't know what any of these things are. And I was like, oof, all of them. We'll see what we can do. Let's see if we can cobble together a solid title and thumbnail and talk about this. Jean Remy Arguenta is saying, I think overall this was a very strong year for comics. Yeah, I think so. Stephen Turner, thank you very much. Have you had a chance to check out Psylocke 1 or 2 yet? Love Quinnon getting her shine. The action and writing is really good so far. I have not. I am not as up on Marvel as the other things that are out there, which is again why I said earlier that I didn't feel like good about the idea of being like best of. I know it feels impossible or like you'd have to be paid a lot to do it. But I'm like, I feel like you should have read everything, you know? But I know that's like a huge, ridiculous ask. So let's see. Let's see. Oh, Mind the Gap. Mind the Gap is saying comic media is bad now. Somehow I find out about books the week they come out and not beforehand. Yeah, marketing's not the best, and that's one of the things I feel a bit sad about with the like whole Harley Quinn farting comic. You know, it's like that manages to like break through and make it mainstream. It's kind of like, oh, it's a shame because there's so much genuinely interesting, compelling work being done in the medium. And as harsh as it may sound, even if some people get some laughs out of it, I don't feel like that is an accurate representation of some of the true, just like risks and effort that have been going on. There's just been so much, so many really interesting things that have, been going on. Ethereal Dragon is saying comic media has been bad for years. Truth. No lies detected. I do this all the time, talk about comics all the time, and I'll still find out about stuff, be like, "What? Animal Pound by Tom King? Like, what do you mean?" Oh. Rachel Leah, thank you very much. Not a new comic because I haven't cared for his newer stuff, but I have been reading through Spider-Man 2099. I'm about to start the second omnibus. Yes, those have been a lot of fun. Again, this has been a really good year for omnibuses that have been collected. There's been a lot of classic arcs that have come out and coming together. There's been the little compacts. There's DC's Finest. There's been a bunch of, interesting eras collected over at Marvel. There's like the Peter David stuff. It's been like if you needed big tomes of things, this is the year slash, if you can afford them because they're a lot. They're a lot. You got to pick and choose. And some things got, delayed, like that DC X Marvel that just kept getting pushed back and back and back. And then there was the fear of, will it actually happen or not? They want to keep you on the edge of your seat with suspense and that kind of thing. CBM is saying Animal Pound was amazing. I still need to read it. See, I've heard good things about it. I was in the comic book store and I was looking at the shelf and I was like, Animal Pound, Arc Bound. Why does nobody tell me things? Oh. Let's see. I need to clear some more space. That's right. I have even more slides. I feel like one of those people who goes on a trip, and then they're like, here, I took all these pictures from the trip. Would you like to see them? I hope the answer is yes, because I'm showing them to you anyway. Ah, yes, I did have more. But wait, there's more. Feral. This is one I did a video on, and I think Feral is a lot of fun. It's Cliff Notes edition, the zombie apocalypse, but with cats. It's basically this intense outbreak of rabies that is infecting all of the wildlife, except our main characters, being cats, don't know that. And so they're like living through what's going on, and you're following them through their misadventures. And they're just very sweet and very adorable. It's very stressful. It really tugs at your heartstrings. I think this one is a lot of fun because they are cats. It does some really fun things with the tropes and twists them a little bit, which makes it feel, a bit unique. Ben Chan is saying, but does Alvin like it? I don't know. I think Alvin would survive. No, I think Alvin would be infected and then he'll infect everybody else. Matthew Foster, thank you very much. I think someone wished on a monkey's paw for the new Superman movie, and now we have the Harley Quinn fart comic. They're like, we giveth, we taketh away. Oh. I've had people recommend Rover Red Charlie to me before. Elithid Lore is saying, at least we'd hear Alvin coming. Yeah, but would you be able to escape? He's fast. Even if you heard him, he might be a little bulky, but he's fast. This is another one that I've been reading. This one is The Deviant, A Christmas Story by James Tynion IV and Joshua Hickson. It's a play on a lot of those old 70s kind of slasher Christmas movies. And there's been a resurgence of them as well in the indie gaming space, where there's been a bunch of kind of games playing with that idea of like, killer mall Santa or like that kind of thing. So this one is more examining it from the standpoint of someone who grew up around the time of the first massacre and is now going around trying to write a piece about it, but he's not sure what he wants to write. And so he's going to interview the killer, but the killings are starting again. And so it's also dealing a lot with the characters' like sexuality and how that plays into the way that the case was presented in the past and how he now wants to cover it and those kind of things. But there's also just this kind of creepy, oppressive vibe when it comes to the kind of like stalking and murder scenes so far. And so it's been interesting. This is one where I think it depends on where it ends up going with the ending. We'll see. Like some works are more dependent on endings than others, but I'm very curious about this one. So I thought I would mention it because I haven't seen as many people talk about this one. I mean, maybe they are. I mean, the internet is a vast place, but like I personally have not. So I'll just put that out there. Also, 'tis the season for a killer Santa. Yeah, exactly. Sikam Dog, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Black Christmas, all of those, kind of things. But yes, just, putting that out there. Yes, Adrian Perchman, that's not a bad Cliff Notes elevator pitch. Like you burst into the elevator and you're like, Santa Jeffrey Dahmer. You only have one floor that you're going up in between. You got to make it fast. I love that I know what you're referencing. Garbage Day. Fun times, the Santa Claus. Fun times in the indie space. And of course, there's a bunch of stuff that's ongoing and still solid. Like some things killing the children, all those things are still going, like House of Slaughter. I'm just thinking about James Tynion now because he's also involved / writing those. So, because sometimes you just start that trickle down effect in your brain where you start to connect all of the different things together. Also, Santa's on the brain because I was in that Santa History of Santa collab that Owen did over on Owen Likes Comics. So you should check that out. That video ended up being about like 51 minutes, and there's tons of different creators in it talking about different Santa stories from across the era of from Marvel and DC and more. I need to sneeze, and I'm trying not to do it on camera. No, I don't want to. Sacrificers. How can I forget Sacrificers? Oh, I really like Sacrificers. And my book is downstairs because Sacrificers takes place in the same universe as Seven to Eternity. It would have been a chance to hold up Seven to Eternity. The Sacrificers is very heavy, though. Like the Sacrificers goes to some places and has some really hard emotional moments. Terrifier 3. Peaceful Moments is just saying, I'm still trying to explain Krampus to my husband. He still doesn't get it. Oh, I'm just having fun imagining that conversation. It's like, so look, listen, Dark sand. Oh. But yeah, so what else do I have on my list of things? Oh yeah, I just had things that I thought were still solid on here. Like there's Poison Ivy, there's Superman, Batman and Superman World's Finest. I just have a note that says talk about adaptations, which we already did. I remembered what they were. To be honest, I had a much harder time. I was like, should I think about like what I didn't like this year? But I tend not to dwell on those kind of things too much. Or unless I'm covering them or planning on covering them, finish them. Lots of times I'll then just replace them with other other comics that I think are more interesting or want to talk about more or want to spend that time with because time is the most precious of the resources. Let's see what all of you are saying. Ah, yes. Well, of course, that was definitely the one that sticks out to me in my mind because I covered it. Psycho Space Cow is saying Punchline versus Gotham Girls, aka Gotham City Sirens 2. Hush 2. But yeah, that but even that had some solid punchline moments. That's why Punchline, my beloved, is in the thumbnail because this year we got some more punchline. Every year I need at least one punchline sighting, please, where she does a little something. I don't ask for much. And Lithid Lore is saying the Hush Who Laughs. We are very close to Hush 2. Who's going to be checking out Hush 2? I mean, I know I will. I need to know. No. Oh, don't put that in the world. Wolf 22 is saying Punchline X Sorrow Lantern when? Nah. Oh, that was something else I'm looking forward to. I think I've already mentioned this in past streams, though. The new Aquaman book that's going to be starting. There, I actually want to see the Atom Project because I'm just excited to see somebody doing something with Ryan Choi. There's the whole world under Doom and how it's going to tie into Fantastic Four, which is something that I am still also reading. That's just keeping on doing its thing because cannot abandon the Fantastic Four. Harley X Joker Forever saying, "Will Punchline be in Hush too? Do you think?" Probably not. I mean, I can dream. I'm joking. I really don't need Punchline to be everywhere. Oh, some people are saying I already pre-ordered that Batman issue. You know, I've never pre-ordered anything from the comic store or anything like that. Esteban Laura saying, I wonder if Shush will be in Hush too. I hope so. Bring back Shush. I actually liked Shush's other name more, Madame Harsh. I was like, I love Madame Harsh. Matthew Foster, thank you very much. I'm getting more Captain Atom, so I'm happy. It's been a decent amount of Captain Atom going on this year and leading into next year, actually. Surprisingly. There's somebody who's just like, you know what? Captain Atom, we're gonna do stuff. Psycho Space Cow saying, I pre-ordered the Power Girl special. Matthew Power is just saying, I'm Hush. This is where you only to start an I'm Hush chain going, a la Spartacus. I don't know what that would accomplish, but Craig Fuller is saying, I've been having a blast with DC versus Vampires World War Z. Eugene Stahl is saying, just wait till Punchline gets a lantern ring. But which one? Which one are we giving? So we've been giving a lot of love to DC. What are some of the Marvel things that you're looking forward to? Like I'm still keeping up with Uncanny X-Men. That is the one X book that I am consistently consistent with. What about all of you? There's the new writer, there's a new creative team for Spider-Man. The amazing Spider-Man. Orange, yellow. I like yellow. I like yellow for her. I feel like yellow works quite well for a Punchline. Someone who enjoys, spreading fear like that. She can hang out with Jonathan Crane. Let's see. Balls Monkey is saying, I've really loved Avengers Assemble this year. It's been great seeing Wasp and Hawkeye back in the Avengers book, even if it is the B team. Let's see. The Mystique book, that's a secret Nick Fury Jr. book, and I dig it. Ah, yes, there's Ultimate Wolverine coming in the pipeline. The infamous Mike Manhattan is asking, would you ever do a video on the Marvel You Decide contest, the one that gave us Marvel? Probably not, because I feel like that has been well and thoroughly well and thoroughly covered. Oh, harsh. Nikki Poole is saying, I'm not reading Amazing Spider-Man. That book is dead to me. Is it as dead as however many times Spider-Man is supposed to die in this, the 8 deaths, right? CBM is saying it's mostly Moon Knight and Scarlet Witch for me, along with some Avengers stuff. Might get into the Doom stuff and the Doctor Strange in Asgard. Who is anybody doing new Iron Man? Who is anybody keeping up with the latest Iron Man shenanigans? Mr. Micromaster is saying I've been loving Geiger. I too have been enjoying Geiger as well. I'm keeping up with Geiger. Ben Chan is saying, is chasm still a thing? Yes. I don't know why I whispered that. Yes, chasm. You gotta, just get it down there real low. Common Sense is saying, I am curious about Doom Academy. Fable is saying, I am. Please don't spoil the new issue. Don't worry, I wasn't planning on spoiling Iron Man. Oh no, people don't spoil Iron Man. Don't do it. Adam Frey is just asking, Immortal Thor or nah? Let's see. Bunch of different responses for how people feel about Iron Man. Prince Parker saying, I'm waiting for Miles to stop being a vampire. I can't think about Miles right now without thinking about like that drama of like the Shamik Moore like online drama that's making the rounds. This the year decided to end with like strange things. It's like, so we only have a few more days. How strange can we get within the last couple of hours? Because I said that, it's gonna be like old year's night, and they're gonna be like something crazy is going to happen. Oh, Ethereal Dragon is saying Storm is great. I'm subscribed to a channel focused on her and Starfire. Sounds fun. That's an interesting combo as well. I'm seeing what all of you are saying about the Marvel universe and where it is headed. We did not get to read the solicits. There wasn't time. Oh, there's never enough time. But there will be time for Ultimate Spider-Man retrospective, which I'm very much looking forward to doing. I have something else beside me actually. I wanted to hold it up. It's a super like a niche indie thing, but I thought it was pretty cool. I'll preface it with it was a first outing for the creator, and basically the idea was they were going to throw their all at it, like all of the tropes, all of the things they liked, all of the golden age influences, all of the like manga influences, all of that kind of stuff, into the whole like if this is the only comic I ever make, then like this is what it's going to be. And so this is Daddy Bones, which is by Adam Vounoir, and there's a bunch of different artists in here to illustrate the various chapters. And yes, the main character is Tom, like is Finland inspired, but it's a really interesting look at a melding of a bunch of golden age revenge style tropes told in a vignette format. And it's also incredibly ultra violent. It's 100% like adult kind of thing. Like it's another thing where I'm like I can't open it, and the same with the sexuality in it. But that wasn't what drew me to it. What really drew me to it was the earnestness of the characters, and it has one of my favorite ending reveals of something that I read this year. It was just really interesting in the way that it played with the idea of a kind of shadow-esque hero interacting with a much more kind of brutal, grungy era vigilante. And as they take on these various, elements of like gangs in the city, like drugs and the prostitution and those kind of things, but then also it had the golden age flair, and that sometimes something like really supernatural would just happen. Like the one gang turned out to be vampires, and that kind of stuff was fun to me. So I just wanted to put it out there because, like just for people to go out there and take a chance like that and just be like, I love comics. I want to make this thing. And for there to be so much like passion in it from someone who's not necessarily like associated deeply into the industry. I love stuff like that, which is why I wanted to showcase it even a little bit. Where's the one for chapter 2? There's a motion comic online too. But where's the one for chapter 2? I loved the look for some of these chapters are just like, oh, that's one of the characters named Hansel. I just love how Hansel looks and like Hansel's vibe so much. Like some of this, it's all black and white as well, which adds to a kind of like neo-noir feel that it has going on. Oh, the Phantomas as well, which is a great name and looks a lot like the Mouthpiece. If you're familiar with the Golden Age character called the Mouthpiece, which I am, but I'm trying to find the one I want. If I can. Yeah, there we go. I loved how the Phantomas like looked. They had such a good vibe. But yeah, I just want to show some things that are out there because again, there's so many comics out there. Yes, I'm glad that you get it. Harley Story's like, Daddy Bones, I get it. Yeah, you do. He's also the master of death. So there's lots of jokes like that in there. Common Sense. Thank you very much. Which X book from Rise of the Ashes do you think is the best? For me, it's X-Force and Sentinels. The best. That's a very different question than the most enjoyable. Those are two different things. Well, as I mentioned, I'm not keeping up with absolutely all of them, so I don't feel like it would be a fair assessment to be what's the best. I do think from what I've read of X-Force was really really solid. I like Uncanny a lot, but again, it said the best, not which one I like the most. But huh. Storm. I think Storm's really solid because I'm finally caught up with Storm. But again, I'm not like equally down on all of them. Oh, if you're asking if it's still in print, you can look it up. There's a website. He still has some on sale. It was a limited printing edition, but it's also just a really solid, gorgeous book for those who are asking. Like it's really well put together. There's also a variety of art styles in it. Like there's some that are a bit more manga inspired and stuff like that. A lot of the people who worked on it were tattoo artists because this creator is a tattoo artist. And so you see some of that influence inside the line work. And there's actually a decent amount of overlap between tattoo artists and comic artists. So yeah. Yes, Stephen Turner's like, you caught up on Storm. I did. Everybody was telling me that it was good, so I had to prioritize. Craig Fuller's just saying Last X-Force was crazy. It's one of those things where I wonder if people would talk about some of the X books more if there was like slightly fewer of them. Because you gotta kind of pick and then the YouTube landscape, I feel like doesn't always lend itself the best to being a accurate representation of everything that's out there because there is always kind of that click economy at play and it does factor into what is or isn't covered. Ben Chan saying you're usually pretty chill, but is there a storyline that you truly hated, loathed entirely? Hated. It takes a lot to get me to hate something. I don't no, like there have been storylines that I have disliked or I wish went another way or I don't think are truly representative of a character or what they mean, but hate is such a strong emotional like investment and response that I feel needs to be applied to things that are like personally I just feel like they need to go to things that are more, I don't know, I don't know. I'm trying to find like the right word for it, but I don't tend to feel that type of emotion towards, storylines. Like I'll get really passionate about something sometimes about like, oh, like I really don't think like this should have happened. Like here's why, that kind of thing. But hate, I don't think so. Oh, someone's bringing up like how I feel about pregnant Spider Woman. Yeah, like again, like that's a storyline like I genuinely don't think is handled well, and I think it misrepresents a lot of the elements, especially of late stage pregnancy, and that it was praised so heavily is baffling to me. But again, like hate, it's the word hate, I feel like for me, because like hate, just like love, has such a strong, all-encompassing meaning. But there are definitely storylines that I've disliked. And like if I was gonna make one of those videos with you get the cork board out and you attach all the strings to it, like I think maybe pregnant Spider Woman could get one of those at some point. Oh. Pregnant Power Girl? No, Pregnant Power Girl is just one of those, like, baffling, like, "Huh, this certainly was a thing that happened." Mm. CBM, so, like, saying, like, the closest was Napalm Lullaby. It was too ranty. Napalm Lullaby is very, yeah, it's very mu it's ironically, it's quite preachy, which if you know what that book is about, you'll understand why I use that. Mm. Pregnant Carol Danvers. Pregnant Carol Danvers has entered the realm of just fascinating to me because it's become this almost like online cultural touchstone for how much it's referenced. Steven Turner is like, hate the upcoming Harley Fart storyline. You see, I'm kind of intrigued because now I want to see, like, well, is it all farts? Like, is it actually scratch and sniff? Like, is it funny? Like, I need to know. Oh. Not fond instead of hate. Yeah, there are definitely storylines that I'm not fond of, or like tropes or directions sometimes that I'm just kind of like, not for me, not my tempo. Common Sense is saying Dark Crisis, Young Justice. I truly loathe that comic. That comic I would describe as frustrating in the way that it presented certain events that occurred in the past Young Justice canon when it's not hard to just go and look and see that they didn't happen that way. Editor's notes. How about Marvel's Trouble? Ah, Trouble is I kinda like Trouble, it's so off the wall. Name the tropes. Harley X Joker is like, "Name them. Put them on blast. Shame them." Ethereal Dragon is just saying, "There are too many disturbing pregnancy stories in Marvel." I do wish that pregnancy was better, depicted in comics. It tends not just in general, though. It's not just a comics thing. Like, I'm one of those people rolling my eyes at every single delivery scene in a movie where, like, everybody's screaming and carrying on and, all kinds of, stuff. Let's see. Okay. Now people wanna know what I hate. Why? John Stewart is saying, "What about Didio killing off Nightwing over and over?" I actually thought that was kind of funny on a couple of levels, like, not for what it does to Connor as a character, because it just paints Connor atrociously, but what amused me is the fact that, A, that this is still something that's remembered all these years later and to this time, and, like, there's the one level that maybe that was written either tongue in cheek, which if so, then it's kind of fun that someone can poke fun at, this moment in their lives, and if not, that level of pettiness is incredibly amusing to me. Oh, Dragonberry Mead. Is there a comic adaptation, movie, show, video game that you hated? Hated. Again, like, there have been some that I disliked or don't think are, like, the best, but, like, hated, again, hate's too strong. I don't think I hate things. Because I always like to, like, analyze things from so many different angles. I don't think I hate anything. Now I'm trying to think of, like, what were some of the ones that came out, like, that I didn't truly enjoy? Like, okay, let's take something like I didn't truly enjoy the shift to female penguin in, Caped Crusader, for example. But I didn't hate it. It just, for me, felt unnecessary and didn't really add enough interesting dynamics, I felt like, to justify it, and I felt like they could have done it with another pre-existing character, but completely understand why they didn't, because any character they would have had to pull to do that with wouldn't have had the same name cachet. And it also felt a bit stunt like publicity, like stunt like to me, but then the rationale of the quote of why they did also just didn't really resonate with me. But again, it's like it wasn't hate or anything. It was just kind of like, huh, that's something that I don't feel was a great choice, you know? Marilyn Duke is saying Titan season 2 season finale. Amir is saying Batman v Superman for me. Harley X Joker Forever is saying The Killing Joke or Injustice Animations. Let's see. I have Batman v Superman on Blu-ray, and my friends make fun of me for it, and that's fine. Jean Remy Arguenta is saying from Hell movie, didn't hate it. The man's so forgettable and a disservice to the original work. Let's see. Fable. Could you imagine the same song and dance with a male penguin? I mean, it'd be interesting to see, but again, like I made a whole video on how I think this was a perfect opportunity for Queenie, and there was even a plot in the Golden Age that has many of the notes of that episode inside of it. So I'm just like, Queenie, come on, bring back Queenie. I care about Queenie, the Black Queen. Let's see. Connor Bratton is saying, I don't tend to let bad storylines paint my view of a particular series. It's not that big a deal to me, and I don't like to be mad. Yeah, I don't enjoy being angry. I don't enjoy that feeling. It eats at you, you know? Eugene Stahl is saying the Injustice movie did butcher the story so bad because it condensed it into a shorter runtime. It should have been a longer movie or a multi-parter. It did try and like just crush in there. It really did try and just get everything in there. Crisis is another one that they did recently where it just felt a bit flat, but it had some, moments. And you got that last Kevin, Conroy line in there, and that was really, iconic. Adrian Parchment, thank you very much. Any thoughts on Brian Michael Bendis' Naomi, both TV show and comic? Naomi had its moments. I mean, I'm thinking about the comic more so than the TV show because I did not watch the Naomi type TV show, but I did read the first like Naomi run. Naomi was trying very hard, and it was one of those ones where I felt like it was trying so hard to make a certain point in instances that it kind of lost sight of the story in moments. What is Naomi up to? I haven't thought about Naomi in a while. Where is Naomi? Oh god, I hope she's not with Tanya. There is someone I want to see rescued. Tanya Spears. Save her from the void. Common sense. Thank you very much. You already reviewed Green Lantern Beware My Power. Why adaptations always give Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan's, and Kyle Rayner's stories? Why not his comic? Justice for Jon Stewart. Well, I'm very curious to see what they do with Jon in the Lanterns series coming up. Actually, I'm just curious about that series in general. I think why they don't is because Jon's comic stories I don't think are as well known like publicly as say Hal's. It's the same thing with what they did on the Flash where they gave Barry a bunch of Wally stories. People tend to just go with what people are going to recognize a lot. Esteban is saying, I think Naomi has disappeared. Oh. Harley X Joker saying, I ship Naomi and Static. I like Jon. I like Jon Stewart a lot. And that fondness does inherently stem from the fact that that was the first Green Lantern for me because I saw the cartoons first. So I always had a soft spot for Jon. And then when I went back and read the comics, I really liked him there too. I love the cover on his first appearance with just dangling Hal on the thing. Oh. Let's see. Are any of you excited for Lanterns? What are you excited for in the upcoming adaptation realm? Gunverse, Marvel World. That's not what they call it. MCU, like anything. Marvel World sounds like Arcade suddenly got in there and renamed. He's like, murder. I mean, Marvel World. Please come. It's totally safe. Comic Kid 23. Thoughts on the Boy Wonder from earlier this year? I liked the Boy Wonder. Genie Ba, yeah, the Boy Wonder I thought was solid. I don't know why it was Black Label, but I thought it was solid. Are people saying Superman? The Batman Part 2. Marvel, I know. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, it'll be, I think, my biggest hope for Superman beyond any kind of, like accuracy or anything like that is I hope it's fun. I hope it's fun. I hope it's optimistic. That's, I hope it's an optimistic Superman. B things. Thank you very much. Are there any manga series that you're particularly into? I've been enjoying Urusei Yatsura and One Piece lately. Oh, I haven't been reading as much manga as of late. I've been watching Space Dandy though. I'm late to the Space Dandy party, and I have been watching that in my spare time. They also did really beautiful earlier this year, speaking of year in review, they did some nicely leather-bound Trigun editions, and those have been quite lovely. So it's not Trigun's one of my favorite series. So I'm like, yes, now it can be beautiful and hardbound. Oh, actually, what was the weird, disturbing manga that I was reading? There was one, like there are always these videos online that are like, this manga is like too disturbing for like anything. And so then I started reading it and now I've completely forgotten it. So I feel like it was overstating it's so disturbing that, nobody can read it. Mm. Let's see what all of you are, because like I do like manga. It's just, with everything else. I mean, the most manga things I've read have to be those tie-ins right now with like Operation Joker and the Deadpool like samurai that, Amanda and I covered and read and stuff. How do you enjoy the Trigun remake? I didn't mind it. And it's supposed to be like a prequel type thing. I'm still on the fence about the animation style, but like every time they do a different Trigun thing, they change up some of it. I didn't mind it. I still prefer the original anime though, even though for the end they had to make a lot of changes. But still, I feel like it got the energy. Have you given Dan to Dan a chance? I have not, but I've heard good things. Everybody's saying like it's really good. Oh, PST radio is cursed. You all know that. Yeah, I had the Helsing hardbacks as well, but I gave them to my brother, and I have slight regrets. Only mild though, because I know that he enjoys them. So that eases the pain of the regret a bit. But I gave him my Helsing, I gave him my Akira, and now I'm just like, huh. I love my brother. I miss my manga. Oh. Let's see. Oh, well, there's the final season of Beastars is now on Netflix for Beastars people out there. Chainsaw Man movie. I'm behind, man. I got sent a really cool piece of Chainsaw Man fan art. I'll show it one of these days when I have it out on stream. It's a bit too far away from me to get right now. Yeah, it's been a very comics heavy year for me. Like some years it's different and like the ratio will alter. It just depends. But this year was especially like a lot of like I also got the chance to read The Final Cut by Charles Byrne. Like there's been a lot of really interesting indie fare here because they, here is the graphic novel and they adapted it into a movie. Why do I need to sneeze? I don't want to. It's going to happen. No. Yes, when I sneeze, I hold my wig, even though it's laid down because I saw a short or a TikTok once where like a wig flew off and I'm traumatized. I'm not okay. It was a comedy video, but for me, it was a horror film. Oh. Yeah, Final Cut's making the rounds. Oh, there's also I need to read. I haven't read it yet. The graphic novel that Alan Moore released this year. I still haven't read it. So I want to. Psych23 is saying, seeing the Craven hate has been amusing. I haven't watched Craven. I'll get to it. Wait, Craven versus Nosferatu. There are choices to be made. I want to talk about the adaptation of here because I think it's fascinating because I looked behind me because I think here is up here. Huh. If I make a video on it, that's just gonna be here puns the entire time. Martin Jackson, you don't want to flip your wig. No, no, I don't. Like, it would be fine, but Amir W is saying Crave-Steratu. No, we can't combine those as seamlessly as some of the others. How are the baby hairs treating me? I tend to cut baby hairs off. I'm not a huge fan of baby hairs. I don't think they look nice on me personally. There are a couple of wigs where I've left them on. The punchline wig is one of them, but for the most part, I don't think they suit me. So I usually pluck them out of the hairline. Ethereal Dragon is saying, I hear Craven is so bad it's good. You know, I love stuff like that. So I hope so. I mean, obviously, I'd rather it be good, but if it has to be bad, let it at least be entertaining. Ben Chan is saying it's not Craven time. Elithid Lore is saying, I thought baby hair was about your kids. No, it's the name for like the little hairs that can be attached like along the scalp of a wig. So like along the front hairline where it's laid down. It can help make it look more seamless on some people, depending upon how you do it. Not for me though. Oh, all the Craven puns. All of the Craven puns that are happening. Okay, so if you were going to do a Spider-Man-less movie, like what character would you have chosen? Because like we've had Venom, we've had Morbius, now we've had Craven. Who would you who would you have picked to do? I'm laughing because Ayona is saying no explaining wig culture. If you know, you know. Shocker. Silver Sable. Doc Ock. I just want Shocker so I can use that Shocker clip again. Also, Shocker in Ultimate Spider-Man was fun. He was a fun character over there. Kingpin, easy, says Harley X Joker. Manwolf, says Eric P. I've heard Manwolf more than once. I'm not sure if it was from you in another chat, but it may have been from multiple people. There may be dozens of you. Jessica Drew. Ben Riley. Puma. Prince Parker. A couple of people are saying Superior Foes would have been the move. It's interesting. I'm imagining how some of these would have gone. Ben Riley would have been a trip. It's just a Spider-Man movie, but without the name. More 2099 stuff. That would be pretty cool. I'm here for 2099 stuff. I'm here for Batman Beyond stuff. Give us the future. The future is now. We want to see it right now. B things are saying Silk would be interesting. Laura saying Sturgeon is the only correct answer. There have been a couple of Prowlers who Kane. Kane also just because Kane's name is always fun to say, and you see it spelled with the K. I don't know. It's just like Kane. You feel like you gotta hit it, really hard with the K. Paul. The Animus Mike Manhattan saying Paul. It's not a superhero movie at all. It's just a slice of life movie. Like one of those 70s outings where it's just a guy living his life, like one of those Woody Allen exploitation films, like those movies that were trying to be like those movies. Well, let's go. That's the Paul movie. EST Comics, thank you very much. Does Sony own the rights to Jessica Drew? I'm not sure. I'm not up on like which rights are where, kind of thing. I think Jessica Drew would be fun. We could do Carpenter. Carpenter Spider-Woman would also be interesting. I really want to do a video on her run at some point. I think she had some really interesting stuff going on. I feel like she doesn't get talked about as much. The Wall. Why not? I mean, if we can get like how many ever like billions of views on YouTube for The Wall, like The Wall can do it. I think that, like, I think 2025 is going to be interesting. It seems like there's gonna be a lot of fun stuff coming out, and it feels like in general, at least in the comic space, there's some real, like, interest for some of the things that are coming out, and there's been some really interesting attempts being made in the indie space, and I'd love for those to be the things that manage to break through instead of the Harley Quinn fart comic, but I completely understand why that is the thing that ends up making the rounds because it's weird and has the "but why though?" and it makes a good title and thumbnails. Like, I totally get it. Ben Chan is saying the answer. The question and the answer crossover team up away. Count Orlok is saying, weirdly, Sony owns Jessica Drew and Julia Carpenter, even though they aren't really Spider-Man adjacent. I hope you went to see Nosferatu, Count Orlok. Oh, no, come on. Team Fortress saying, but why with two T's? I mean, this was also, like, someone pointed out, they're like, but also this was the year of nothing but Nightwing. That one is a bit different because there's more going on in that than just constant butt puns. There is a plot as well. Maybe the Harley comic will have a plot. I mean, the solicit didn't make it seem like it would. But the thing with Harley solicits is that they're trying to be funny. Like, they're always written like most of them are written in her voice or a character from the comic, and they're trying aggressively hard to be funny. And that tends to be, in my experience, when things fall the flattest. Common Sense saying, I disagree. I feel like Anya Corthon gets less talk than Jessica Drew. I'd say that's fair. Yeah, for sure. You know, there was actually even a young adult novel about Anya and Miguel, like, and it wasn't bad. There was a period where I was reading a bunch of the young adult tie-in books that were going on. Some of them were pretty decent. It was started after I read the Lois Lane book, and then I just went on this spree of reading tie-ins. The one I didn't read was the Rogue one. The Rogue one where it's like she had to decide between, like, it was basically a Harlequin novel where she had to decide between Magneto and Gambit. We read the description on one of these streams. I need to go back and find that one because that one looked like it would be a time. Alvin's back. He's been summoned. I don't know why. Yes, B things. That is Rogue Untouched. It even has a Harlequin title. Count Orlok says, I did. Still processing it. And the news that Eggers is directing a new Labyrinth film for the Hens to come. I had not heard that. Oh, I'll need to process that too. What was that noise? Oh, no, thank you. We need a comic by Alvin. Oh, his head will get too big. Alvin can't handle that kind of attention. Any Superman Rex to prep for the movie? I'm gonna be basic and I'm gonna say All-Star Superman. It's behind me over there because it's gonna draw a lot from that. And I think All-Star Superman is a very solid Superman story that captures a lot of the essence of the character. So I definitely say that. Superman for All Seasons is another one I think would be a fun one to read. Just I'm trying to think of, like, the ones that might get you into that kind of, like, getting into, like, becoming Superman and just being hopeful kind of vibes. What about all of you? What would you recommend for someone who wants to read some Superman to get hype for just plain Superman, no longer Legacy? Mind the Gap is saying Superman Up in the Sky was praised by James Gunn. A Man of Steel by John Byrne, says Loner Shark. That was the start in the post-crisis era, and that's very much the blueprint for a lot of what Superman has become for a lot of people. Genre me Arguenta is saying Superman Birthright. A Superman Birthright is pretty solid. Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane. That's for me. Uh So I think there's a lot to read and check out. I really enjoy it when creators recommend like what they think you should read, and I think it gives a boost, and I think that's fun to people who might not know, where exactly they can start or what to get into. And like it definitely did that during X-Men 97. And I thought that was a lot of fun. I think it creates kind of a fun atmosphere around it. Like when, the Grant Morrison Batman and Robin, like, went out of print and stuff, and they had to reprint it, like, that kinda thing makes it feel exciting, and it makes you feel like, "Oh, like, other people are reading it too." Michael Brown, thank you very much. Happy holidays to you and your family. Happy holidays to you and yours. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas. Alright. Did I like the Superman trailer? We talked about that last time. We had a whole, stream about it. The trailer Cliff Notes. The trailer made me interested in seeing a longer trailer, and I will always be there for Superman. Even I was there for Man of Mope, I'll be there for this. So, is what on Global Comics, John Stewart? People are recommending Absolute Superman. Siv, Metalosa, thank you very much. Quick take on the Ultimates book. The Ultimates book is interesting. It's certainly trying to do a lot in terms of twisting the different like takes on the characters. And I appreciate that it's, making the attempt to make it feel like an alternate type of universe. I don't feel like it's fully quite come together as of yet, but you can't say in my opinion, you can say this. In my opinion, you can't say it's not interesting. Maybe you can. You're like, that's exactly what I say. Oh, the Superman Rex before watching the movie. Some of them. Some of them are on, but some of them will be leaving on January 1st and they'll be replaced with 69 new series. So with DC's thing on Global Comics is they're going to operate on a bit more of a Netflix structure where like some things will come on and off. I'm actually just going to check for you what's on, what's off. That's All-Star. Now it's in my head. Oh no. Yeah. I think All-Star might be one of the ones. And now it's Somebody Once Told Me. Oh dear. Yeah, but if you do a search for it, it will tell you. And they also, if you're subscribed, send out an email as to what's going to stay and what's going to like go and stuff. They're pretty good about letting you know about things, which I appreciate. Doug, thank you very much. I recently bought a giant size Lois Lane number 77. I just wanted to tell someone who'd get my joy. That's awesome. That's super cool. Oh, that's so great. I'm always excited whenever I see like a Lois like out there in the wild. So that's really fun. I hope it's in like a decent, conditions that'll be good to read. You don't have to fear that it's going to, crumble apart on you. Let's see. Paisan is asked, did the engineer end up in the trailer? I didn't see her in it, but I could have missed it. I can't wait for the authority to be introduced. People are like, zoom in, enhance on the bridge, and then you'll see the engineer. See, they're doing it already in the chat. They're like, yeah, on the bridge. Slow down to like whatever speed and zoom in. I just see that Kevin is just saying doomsday clock. Is that like a Superman rag? Or just, doomsday clock? Think about it. I'm going to assume it's a Superman rag. Oh. So it'll be, it's going to be an interesting year. And I hope, I pray, everything that it'll be a good one, I hope that it'll be good. And that we'll have lots of really fun, good times to talk about and lots of really cool comics to talk about. And even if we're talking about something that ends up being potentially a hot mess, hopefully in a way that's like fun and entertaining and there's lots of interesting things to pull from and dissect and analyze because that's the best time. That's when it's at its best. Mm. Marilyn Duke is saying that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow slated to come out June 2026. So obviously that's when where one should read the Supergirl, series for that. Oh, thank you very much. Negrodum S93 is saying, thanks for showing us weirder comics. Please never stop. The Gorillas Influence comic was dope. AF, like Batman AF. I love showcasing things like that. It's the kind of thing where I think I've said on past streams where it's like you can't do it too often because the algorithm will punish you. But it's like for the people that it reaches, they really appreciate it. And I think it's really cool to spotlight things like that. Like when I talked in that video about how cool it is, I think that they're preserving this series. I genuinely mean it because otherwise when I was researching for gathering info for it, so many of the posts were just, hey, like I'm trying to hunt down copies of The Face because like I'm missing this issue or I can't find this thing. And so I think it's really neat when you have more opportunities to introduce people to a moment in comic book history. Otherwise, sometimes they're just these, sentences on a page or, moments on a list that you'll see sometimes like, oh, this happened. But that's not the same as being able to actually, read through all of it. Because even when I do videos like discussing things, like I can't hit every panel or like every line, every scene. There's no replacement for actually being able to go through and read the thing. And I think that's special. I really do. Let's see. Chemdog saying it's my new mission to destroy all algorithms. Don't do it. The current YouTube algorithm is, despite appearances to the contrary, focused on viewer satisfaction. You don't want to destroy the viewer satisfaction algorithm. I've actually been researching it a lot lately just because I think it's interesting. It's cool to know how things work. Nikki Poole is asking, should I wait for Absolute Batman to turn to a trade paperback or what, chat? There are two answers to that. One, and the best answer for you is it depends on what you enjoy reading and how soon you want to read it, if you don't mind waiting for the trade or not. Because comics are still in that monthly format, buying them monthly does help them out in that way. So it really depends on like what your goal is and what you're going for and how comfortable you are collecting floppies, that kind of thing. So it's a multi-layered answer. In general, like personally, I tend to be a trade waiter. I just like the trades. They're more durable. There's less chance that they're going to be, destroyed in my home with my 3 children. John Remy is saying both. Just burn money, baby. Listen, Jean, it's not about the money. It's about sending a message. I'm seeing the name change is saying, nah, single issues are the way to go. Absolute Batman is a must. Nightmare Nemo is saying, I love Absolute Batman too much to wait for the trade. So you see, it really depends like what you're enjoying. And I think that for some of the Absolute books, what is fun is because you are seeing that fandom keeping up with it as it's going. So that part is fun if you're reading it on the go, because then you can go to YouTube and honestly largely TikTok to like kind of get some like instant reactions on the thing. Let's see. Humongous is saying, I can never tell if a series is good for just one issue. I like having more in a trade. Let's see. Marilyn Duke is saying, that's my slight frustration with comics. Like, I want to wait for the trade for a lot of things, but I feel like if I don't buy the issues, I'll never get the trade. Yeah, I know what you mean, because it's like nobody bought it, so cancel it, wrap it up. But at the same time, it's like there's a convenience to trades that I genuinely, enjoy over the floppy experience. I always feel like I need to be so careful with them that I can't enjoy reading them in quite the same way. Let's see. Steven Turner saying, I collect physicals based on covers I like and have a wall of comic covers framed. Well, that sounds lovely. I've seen some like walls like that. They always look, really cool, really dynamic. Mr. Branley is saying, I love trades and I can't wait for the absolute ones. Yeah, I hope that there's a fast turnaround on those, quick turn. But if you make it too quick, then people won't buy the singles. There's all kinds of, different things in the pipeline. James Bond is asking, but you still like the omnibus form? I like having everything in one place. There is no greater frustration to me than when an omnibus is like missing an issue or two. I'm like, no, it was together. It was a tome. That was the point. It was so it could all be there. I love omnibuses, especially for research purposes. Like when I'm going through something and they're just all there. That's great. That's absolutely fantastic. It's perfect. Let's see. So big, it's almost unreadable. It's true. Cumbersome. Cumbersome is the word of the day when it comes to them. You gotta adapt how you read them. I do actually read my omnis, so it's like, yeah, you gotta like get a pillow, you gotta do the whole thing. I appreciate the amount that's in them, but like for reading experience, I'd say the most comfortable is probably the trade format. You can still just pick them up. They've got a decent amount of pages, so you feel like you're actually, reading a decent amount of stuff. Although with a well-written comics, even a single issue, you'll feel that way too. So, and also you can, whip it around. I don't know why you would be doing that, but you can if you feel like it. But yes. I'm going to catch up with all of you. Yeah, even with a bunch of stuff that's coming out, I still tend to trade weight for most things, or I too will sometimes burn money and get a digital copy and then later get the trade. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of the omnis are good, as I'm seeing in the chat also, and it's worth mentioning, for the older stuff as well, especially like if you're going, depending upon how far back you're going, because once you start to hit bronze and go further back, if you're looking for singles, then you're going to get into the like collector space, and some of those can be pretty expensive. Ben Chan, thank you very much. Happy holidays and thanks for all the work you put in this year. And pre-thanks for more Hal Jordan content. Ah, you know me too well. You know that there'll be more Hal in the new year. Every day is an inch closer to the Hal Jordan tattoo that exists in my mind. Let's never get there, folks. But I do want to, and I'm hoping to this year. My hopeful New Year's resolution, we'll see if it happens, knock on wood, will be to get back to the more retrospective essay type format, even for newer things. And I'm hoping that can happen. And one of those things I want to touch on for sure is the latest Green Lantern run. I love keeping up with things issue to issue. And there are a few things that I'll definitely do that for, but it's frankly, and it's the same thing every time. I should know better, but it's frankly a bit too much for my lifestyle. So I've got to get back to the retrospectives, which I love. Sam Bold is saying more punchline content, please. They need to give me more punchline. They need to give me more punchline, please, or I'll have to go back and do that Future State story where they like her and Harley Quinn fought, because I haven't talked about it on the channel. Saving it for a rainy day, like break in case of emergency, break for more punchline. Will we see a further return to the clay list? Yes. Definitely. Fun fact, maybe it's fun, I don't know, have had the Johnny Williams Clayface video written for over a year at this point. I'm gonna go through and retweak it, update it, and then give it a whirl. Stanley's like, no more No more punchline. I'm sorry. She's in my veins. More grunting Batman. I need more, like, lines of dialogue in Absolute Batman that I want to read out loud because it's the perfect Batman for the Christian Bale Batman voice, you know? Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm really looking forward to it a lot. Dragonberry Mead, thank you very much, is asking, this is probably a silly question, but when you say trade wait, are you talking about actually trading with other collectors? No, trade waiting is the process of waiting for the single issues to be compiled into a trade paperback. So it's you're waiting for the end of the first arc, and then usually these days they're collected and then you can just get the first arc in a trade of some kind, usually 1 to 5, 1 to 6, because that tends to be the standard length time of streaming of an arc. So when people say trade wait, that's what they mean. Harry Kelly, hello. Have you seen Wicked? No, and I probably won't. Wicked is not up my alley. Dragonberry Mead, no problem. That's the thing. It's like people are always just like throwing around terms and like stuff like that. It's good to ask because I remember when I first started, collecting and like getting into comics, like I'd be so nervous to ask things. Like people be like, "I'm an award-winning flatter." I'm like, what does a flatter mean? I would go and look it up because I didn't want to look like I didn't know things. So I totally get it. I just see Psycho Space Cow asking, "What if we're Miss Martian and Zatanna though?" I'm excited for the year of Zatanna, which appears to be 2025, where they've been building up to it with like bringing down the house and stuff, and now we're getting the Jamal Campbell everything Zatanna mini. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, if anything does well enough, they'll keep the train rolling. So we shall see where the year of Zatanna takes us. Which Omni are you getting next? Ah, I am not sure because I'm probably gonna get a bunch of the DC's Finest next because there's just a bunch of them that appeal to me. People were sending me on, Twitter/X pictures of the Jimmy Olsen one, all those kind of things. They're like, "Have you seen this?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, I have." And the year of everything darkness related, says ChemDog. Yes, absolute darkness. And also just the darkness, the return of the darkness, not the band, although also the band, actually. So yeah, you're right. Everything the darkness. More cursed panels? Absolutely. Cursed panels it's up there with one of my favorite things to do and talk about. They're so fun. There are so many just out of context moments that are I really enjoy grounding them because the best thing about those is usually the story that they're coming from has even more stuff in it to talk about than the panel itself. And that's always such a good time. It's also just I love that series name, even though it's not SEO friendly at all. I just think it's fun. So, yes, there is the question omnibus that's coming out. Carlos Johnson is asking, have you considered doing retrospective view of Superman defending immigrants like he did in Action Comics 987 and other minorities like in the Superman trailer? I can't say that I have personally. My retrospectives tend to lean more into generalized character histories, but that's not to say that something like that couldn't happen in the future because I'm flirting with a See, you heard it here first. I'm flirting with a character essay on the significance of Orion having to mask and hide his true face via the mother box technology, just because that panel in, again, New Gods #1, I really thought it was really profound and I really liked it. It just got me thinking about how that's just been a consistent part of Orion's history, that if you're coming to him in later eras or like through adaptation, isn't something that's overly highlighted, but it's something that really informs who the character is, that he constantly is keeping his true self hidden and feels like he has to. And there's this shame element there because of how he's had to grow up. And I just think it's really, really, you know, I think it's really compelling and really interesting. So like we'll see. Maybe I'll be a bread tuber. No, no. Oh. There's a lot of really like, fun depth that one can talk about. At least I think it's fun and interesting. The question then becomes whether other people will also think that. So, oh, was there a Young Justice episode on that? Which episode? Tell me which episode it was, Edward, please. Because that would be great to include in it. Oh. Because now my secret. It's not a secret. I didn't finish Young Justice. I 1, 2, 3, and then I did not. Then I in and out of 4. I shouldn't make that gesture with in and out. I gotta stop gesturing so much. Nikki Poole is saying more silvery shenanigans and hijinks, please. Always my first love. One of the reasons that this channel exists alongside Hush and things is the fact that years ago on Shippers, I had the urge to cover Superman's Girlfriend Lois Lane #1 and didn't feel it would suit. So baked into the DNA. Oof. Stephen Turner says it got bad. You didn't miss anything. Oh, now I'm curious. People are saying, okay, tell me. Thank you. Season 4, episodes 18 and 19. And I'm not playing around. I'm writing that down. That is not a pen. That's a pair of tweezers. I am writing that down on my phone. Why is there not a pen? My life is chaos. Just things are moved over and around. 18 and 19. Orion face. I'll understand what that means. It's fine. There we go. So we will see. We will see what there is. I'll keep that note though, because that's really relevant for if I do end up deciding to work on that. A bunch of people are saying I liked the 4th season, but I can see why people didn't like it. Show the tweezers. What, tweezers or it didn't happen? Tweezers. In one of my bookmarking and like earlier in the stream, we were talking about how I never use an actual bookmark. I thought this was a pen that was a bookmark, but it turns out that it was a pair of tweezers that were a bookmark. Yes. Whew. It's utter madness and chaos here all the time. So that's what you get on this channel. You never know what's going to happen. Well, I'll definitely take a look at it if I'm going to do that, because it'll be relevant to see how that's handled, because I think that kind of approach could be interesting. So thank you for telling me that. I appreciate it. That's part of what I love about doing this channel, be it the streams or the regular videos or whatever we're doing. I said this years ago and I haven't said it recently, I don't think, which is that this channel is a journey that I'm also discovering and continuing to learn all kinds of things alongside all of you. And that's one of the things I love, because there's such a range of an audience here that everybody's bringing all of these different, things that they've seen or read. And I absolutely adore that so much, because I'm 100% not a be all end all or like the stopping point or anything. It's like, the only word I can think of is like an interaction, like a journey. And I think that's a lot of fun. Adrian Parchman, thank you very much. How about a video about Adam West's Batman show? We've talked about it tangentially a few times, but I don't think we've ever dedicate anything to it. It came up recently in the Absolute Batman #3 review because there's a panel from issue 2 that I didn't mention in that video where he's crawling up the wall and it's very crawling. He's walking up it. He's not Spider-Man. He's walking up the wall and it's very much an homage to those 60 scenes where they had them walk up the wall. I used the episode where the guest was Santa because it felt in the season of it, of everything that was going on. People have very different feelings about season 4, I'm seeing in the chat. So we shall see. I haven't watched all of it in a chunk. So yes, exactly, Adrian. King Tut and the Cape Crusader. I did a short on it because every now and again I'll play with the shorts feature for things that, they're not quite enough to make a whole video on, but I still think they're interesting in that way. Let me see. John Stewart says, can't wait to see Absolute Batman trying to get rid of a bomb. Let's blow it up. Archivist Adrift is saying, oh, wow, you're live. Been watching and loving your Tom Strong videos. Thank you very much. They're very fun to make. I love being able to talk about some of the other works and the like that are out there. I've really got to go pick up that last Alan Moore comic and see what it's all about, the latest. Merry Christmas as well to you, Plungecast. We've been talking about just the madness of this year. So I haven't asked as of yet, what did you think was the most interesting comic or adaptation moment of the year? What for you stood out when you cast your mind back across, all of it? What's the thing that you're going to take out of it the most? Is it something from near the end? Is it something from the beginning? What is it that you're going to be leaving 2024 with on your mind or going forward in that space? For me, it's probably some of the stuff that's closer to the end because I'm going to be keeping up with it more intensely. So a bunch of like the absolute things and the ultimate universe, those kind of things. Balls Monkey is saying Space Ghost was everything I could have possibly wanted in a comic. Humongous is saying Superman. Oh, speaking of Dynamite, in terms of what Balls Monkey is saying about Space Ghost, has been doing some really fun Disney fare. It's sweet, like the Lilo and Stitch stuff. Joseph Block is saying, does Keelix no count? Eric P is saying Godzilla Monster Piece Theater has blown me away at the end of 2024. Dan V900 is saying, if we are going with adaptations, X-Men 97, comics-wise, the Absolute Comics. The name changes is saying the 6 fingers on one hand or the Ghost Machine imprint, also resurgence of Valiant. Carlos Johnson saying Thundercats. I'm seeing some Energon. The infamous Mike Manhattan is saying Criminal from Amazon Prime coming out next year. Yes, it is. It'd be a good time to talk about Criminal. Yeah, Criminal is interesting. It would be fun to talk about Criminal. Plastic Man #1. Spawn Renaissance. Poison Ivy. Transformers 1. Prince Parker saying, I stay liking Saga. Revolutionary Dragon is saying the maker is up there in the Hall of Fame for being a hater. #1 hater. Comic Dog is saying beneath the trees where nobody sees. Comic Kid 23 is saying Human Target / Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, my top 2 reads of the year. Nightmare Nemo is saying Green Lantern Dark. The Weatherman. I have heard of The Weatherman. I have not read The Weatherman, though. Hellblazer Dead in America, Ultimates #4. Esteban Laura is saying, I really don't know yet, but I'm just glad I've been keeping track of comics again because I was on hiatus for 4 years. Carlos is saying, Paul from Spider-Man, joking. Yeah, Plastic Man No More was, I thought that was really solid. I enjoyed Plastic Man No More a lot. Stephen Turner is saying actual comic book storm. Lucas Wernick is one of my favorite comic book artists, so him being in that book is perfect for me. We've got World's Finest. Yeah, it's just, and what I love about this is that there's such a range. There is a huge range of different things that people have been checking out. And I think it's reflective, not to be repetitive, but I think it's reflective of just the type of year that it's been. And I hope that that momentum can just continue to build on each other. And that's another reason that I hope that the Fantastic Four does well, that the Superman movie does well, because all of that builds that excitement and it brings more people. And, then some of them, not all of them, will, come and check out this really awesome medium and really get to see how cool it is. Because right now it is kind of off the beaten path and niche to get into. And those kind of things are helpful. There's always been a relationship between the adaptations and the comics. I just personally don't like when the adaptations are viewed as the be all end all for them. But the idea that they do inform each other and that they can be helpful isn't, inherently a bad one. Ben Guy's bowl cut. Long live the bowl cut, even though he hasn't had it for such a long time. CBM is saying, along with the other stuff mentioned, fish flies. Dan V is just saying, Dan Moore being a machine. Blood Squad 7 from Joe Casey and Pat Fry. See, there's some things here that I'm just like, I haven't even heard of some of these. Yeah, Jon Stewart, you're right. It has been a lot of like 80s/90s things returning. The Transformers, G.I. Joe, Gargoyles, DuckTales. DuckTales was another one that was a lot of fun from Dynamite. That just had like a really enjoyable vibe. Prince Parker is saying he is the bowl cut. He is one with the bowl cut. Well, Dan V, if you like Daniel Warren Johnson's art, then you have The Moon is Following Us, where he's doing it with Riley Rossmo. Mind the Gap saying Zorro Man of the Dead was good. I wish there was more. Yeah, there's just been so much. So much. I'm very glad that I did it this way instead of, like a number 10, that kind of thing. I think this was more fun and free flowing. And got to see a whole bunch of other things, got some fun ideas, learned that something I've been thinking about happened on Young Justice, which I would not have known otherwise. Also learned that I have misplaced my pen. All kinds of valuable information on tonight's stream. Yeah, Danby saying I am reading The Moon is Following Us. Yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff that came out recently too that I need to check out. Like In Bloom was one of the ones, Michael Conrad, that I want to look into. And now I have a bunch more recommendations as well. I need to check out the Arcana book by Jeff Lemire. All kinds of things. But yes, I just wanted to pop on, discuss some of what this year has been because there's been so much more. But these are the things then some of the books, again, I'm sure there's so many things that I'm leaving out that, stood out to me that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed hearing what you all have been into and what you've liked. It's always, a good time to just come and chat. Thank you so much for being here for however long you've been here on this wild ride. And we're going to keep it going with even more stuff, hopefully onward and upward to a bright 2025 with even more madness and whims and controlled chaos, hopefully. But I have a lot of interesting, things coming to share with you and talk with all of you about. And thank you so much, as always, for taking some time out of your day, night, whatever it is, to spend it discussing comics and comic adjacent things with me. So I will be back with more videos as always, soon. And I'll see you there in some of them. Bye-bye.